For 22 years, the United States and Communist China refused to speak to one another. Then, one summer night in Pakistan, a senior American official disappeared. The world's press was told he had fallen ill. In reality, he was on a secret flight to Beijing, a mission that would reshape the Cold War and redefine the global balance of power. It's July 1971. Henry Kissinger, President Richard Nixon's national security advisor, is attending a formal dinner in Rawalpindi, Pakistan. Surrounded by senior Pakistani officials, he appears relaxed as the evening unfolds. Then, unexpectedly, word spreads that Kissinger has fallen ill. Officials tell reporters he is suffering from stomach problems and has been taken to the nearby hill station of Murree to rest and recover. The explanation seems entirely believable. Journalists accept the story. The official schedule quietly comes to a halt. But the public story is only a carefully planned cover. While the world's attention remains fixed on Murree, Kissinger is quietly escorted to a nearby military airfield. Waiting on the runway is a Pakistan International Airlines aircraft prepared for a mission known to only a handful of people. His destination is not a mountain retreat. It is Beijing. If the mission is exposed, months of secret diplomacy could collapse overnight, embarrassing the White House and jeopardizing one of the boldest foreign policy initiatives of the Cold War. If it succeeds, it could reshape the global balance of power. Over the next 48 hours, one secret journey will transform relations between the United States and China and leave a lasting mark on the history of the Cold War. Why Nixon needed China? To understand why this mission mattered, we have to step back. For more than 20 years, the United States and Communist China had virtually no diplomatic relationship. Since the Communist victory in 1949, Washington had recognized the government in Taiwan as the legitimate government of China. The two countries had fought on opposite sides during the Korean War, and decades of hostility had followed. So why would President Nixon secretly seek talks with Beijing? The answer was not friendship, it was strategy. By the late 1960s, the Soviet Union had become America's principal strategic competitor. Its military power was expanding, its nuclear arsenal was growing, and Cold War tensions remained dangerously high. At the same time, another major shift was taking place inside the communist world. Relations between China and the Soviet Union had deteriorated sharply. Ideological disputes, competing national interests, and border tensions had turned two communist giants into bitter rivals. In 1969, armed clashes along the Ussuri River brought both countries alarmingly close to a wider conflict. For Washington, this created an extraordinary opportunity. Rather than facing a united communist bloc, the United States could improve relations with China while continuing negotiations with the Soviet Union. This approach, often described as triangular diplomacy, gave Washington greater strategic flexibility and strengthened its position in Cold War negotiations. Nixon wasn't looking for a new ally. He was looking for leverage. The challenge was that the United States and China had no formal diplomatic relationship. Any attempt at direct contact risked international controversy before serious negotiations could even begin. The first step had to remain completely secret. That is where Pakistan entered the story. Why Pakistan became the secret bridge? Pakistan occupied a unique diplomatic position. President Yahya Khan maintained close relations with both Washington and Beijing. Unlike many other countries, Pakistan enjoyed the confidence of leaders on both sides and quietly agreed to serve as an intermediary. Through confidential messages carried between the two governments, Pakistan helped arrange what would become one of the most important diplomatic meetings of the Cold War. The cover story about Kissinger's illness helped keep reporters away, while the real mission unfolded beyond public view. Within hours, the aircraft lifted into the night. Its passengers were heading toward a meeting that much of the world still believed was impossible. In the early hours of July 9th, 1971, Henry Kissinger vanished. To the outside world, he was resting in the cool mountain air of Murree, recovering from illness. The journalists covering his visit had little reason to doubt the official explanation. But several miles away, behind tightly controlled security, an entirely different operation was underway. Only a small circle of American, Pakistani, and Chinese officials knew what was about to happen. Every unnecessary detail had been eliminated. Every movement had been carefully planned. Secrecy was essential, not because the mission was illegal, but because even a premature leak could destroy months of quiet diplomacy before negotiations had even begun. Escorted under strict security, Kissinger arrived at a military section of the airport near Rawalpindi. Waiting for him was a Pakistan International Airlines aircraft that had been specially arranged for the journey. There would be no public farewell. No photographers, no official ceremony. Within minutes, the aircraft lifted into the night sky. Its destination remained unknown to almost everyone. As the aircraft continued its secret journey to Beijing, Kissinger carried with him far more than briefing papers. He carried President Richard Nixon's most ambitious diplomatic initiative. Now, after more than 2 decades of hostility, that silence was finally about to end. For Nixon, success would create an entirely new strategic option in the Cold War. For Mao Zedong and Premier Zhou Enlai, opening a channel to Washington could provide valuable leverage against an increasingly hostile Soviet Union. Each side needed something from the other. Neither side trusted the other. Yet both believed the risks of continued isolation were becoming greater than the risks of talking. After several hours in the air, the aircraft descended toward Beijing. Since the Communist Revolution of 1949, very few Western officials had visited the Chinese capital, and no senior American government official had done so publicly. The aircraft landed at Beijing's Nanyuan Airport. Waiting on the ground was a carefully organized Chinese reception. There were no television cameras, no cheering crowds, no public speeches. History was being made almost entirely out of sight. As Kissinger stepped onto Chinese soil, he became the highest-ranking American official to visit the People's Republic of China since its founding. His arrival marked the beginning of an extraordinary 48 hours. Over the next 2 days, he would meet repeatedly with Premier Zhou Enlai. The discussions were extensive. Taiwan, the Vietnam War, the Soviet Union, the future of Asia, and perhaps most importantly, the possibility of a historic meeting between President Richard Nixon and Chairman Mao Zedong. Both delegations understood the significance of what they were attempting. They were not negotiating a formal alliance. The ideological differences between governments remained profound. Instead, they were exploring whether decades of hostility could give way to a more stable and practical relationship based on shared strategic interests. For Zhou Enlai, the meetings offered an opportunity to reduce China's international isolation while balancing Soviet pressure. For Kissinger, they represented the first step in reshaping the global balance of power through diplomacy rather than military confrontation. Hour after hour, the discussions continued. Every sentence was carefully measured. Every proposal carried enormous consequences. Outside the meeting rooms, almost no one knew these conversations were taking place. Back in Pakistan, reporters still believed Kissinger was resting quietly in Murree. The deception had worked. For now, but once the meetings ended, the world would soon learn that one of the Cold War's greatest diplomatic secrets had already changed history. After nearly 48 hours of intensive discussions, the mission was complete. Henry Kissinger quietly boarded the aircraft for the return journey to Pakistan. Just as secretly as he had disappeared, he reappeared. To reporters waiting outside, nothing seemed unusual. The official explanation remained the same. The National Security Advisor had been resting in Murree after a brief illness. The cover story had held. Within days, Kissinger returned to Washington carrying one of the most important diplomatic messages of the Cold War. The meetings in Beijing had achieved their central objective. China had agreed in principle to welcome President Richard Nixon for an official visit. For the first time since the Communist Revolution of 1949, the leaders of the United States and the People's Republic of China were preparing to meet face to face. Now came the moment that would surprise the world. On July 15th, President Nixon appeared on American television. Near the end of his address, he delivered a brief announcement that stunned audiences across the globe. He revealed that his national security advisor, Henry Kissinger, had secretly traveled to Beijing and that he himself had accepted an invitation to visit China. For millions of viewers, the announcement seemed almost unbelievable. For more than 20 years, Communist China had been portrayed as one of America's principal adversaries. Now the President of the United States was preparing to become the first American president ever to visit the People's Republic of China. the diplomatic landscape shifted almost overnight. International headlines captured the shock. Governments that had not been informed in advance scrambled to assess what the announcement meant. Some welcomed the breakthrough as an opportunity to reduce Cold War tensions. Others worried about its consequences. Among America's closest allies, surprise quickly turned into concern. Japan, a key U.S. ally in Asia, had received little advance notice. Its leaders suddenly found themselves reacting to one of the biggest diplomatic developments of the post-war era, rather than helping shape it. Taiwan faced an even greater sense of uncertainty. For decades, the Republic of China had depended heavily on American diplomatic support. Now Washington was opening direct talks with Beijing. Although the United States continued its relationship with Taiwan, the announcement signaled that long-standing assumptions about American policy were beginning to change. Historians would later describe the sudden shift in American policy as part of what became known as the Nixon shock. But perhaps no country watched more carefully than the Soviet Union. For Soviet leaders, the implications were profound. For years, Moscow had expected hostility between Washington and Beijing to continue indefinitely. Instead, its two principal rivals had begun talking to each other in secret. The Soviet Union now faced the possibility of increased diplomatic pressure from both East and West. This did not create an alliance between the United States and China. Far from it. Deep ideological differences remained, but the mere possibility of improved relations fundamentally changed Soviet strategic calculations. Washington had successfully introduced a new variable into the Cold War. Rather than confronting one unified communist bloc, the United States was now engaging separately with its two largest competitors. This approach became one of the defining features of Nixon's foreign policy. It was diplomacy used not simply to reduce tensions, but to reshape the balance of power itself. Henry Kissinger's secret journey to Beijing lasted less than 48 hours, yet its consequences would shape international politics for decades. The meetings paved the way for President Richard Nixon's historic visit to China in February 1972, opening the door to direct diplomatic engagement between the two countries after more than 20 years of hostility. They also reshaped the Cold War by giving Washington greater diplomatic flexibility in dealing with both China and the Soviet Union. Over the decades that followed, relations between Washington and Beijing expanded through trade, investment, and diplomacy. But as China's economic, military, and technological power grew, the relationship gradually evolved into one of the defining strategic rivalries of the 21st century. More than 50 years later, historians still debate the legacy of that secret mission. Was it one of America's greatest diplomatic achievements, or the beginning of its greatest geopolitical challenge? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to USMag for more history and geopolitics documentaries. Thank you for watching.